This has been a significant day. The Home Secretary, Suella Braverman, has given a major speech earlier today in Washington when she's really set out what she believes are necessary, essential changes required to the 1951 Refugee Convention that 146 countries have signed up to. This is not to be ignored. Let's just hear from Suella with a clip now before I give you my take on what she said.
Human suffering. So why has the international community so far collectively failed to explore any serious reform of the global asylum framework? I think there are two main reasons. The first is simply that it's very hard to renegotiate these instruments. If you think getting 27 EU member states to agree is difficult, try getting agreement at the United Nations. The second is much more cynical. The fear of being branded a racist or illiberal. Any attempt to reform the Refugee Convention will see you smeared as anti-refugee. Similar epithets are hurled at anyone who suggests reform of the ECHR or its court in Strasbourg. I reject the notion that a country cannot be expected to respect human rights if it is not signed up to an international human rights organisation. As if the UK doesn't have a proud history of human rights dating back to Magna Carta, and the ECHR is all that is holding us back from becoming Russia. America, Canada, New Zealand and Japan seem to manage just fine. None of this is particularly novel, nor should it be particularly controversial. As Home Secretary, Theresa May called for Britain to leave the ECHR. And it was Conservative Party policy under Michael Howard to leave the Refugee Convention.
Well, this was a remarkable speech. It really was. No one could have imagined anybody, any Home Secretary, could have made that speech, frankly, just a couple of years ago. Warm words indeed. But is it enough? I have to tell you, this is my take, Tice's take. It's not enough. It's nothing like enough. A lot more is needed urgently, rapidly. Why? Because there are millions and millions of economic migrants from across the world who are now targeting the European Union and the United Kingdom in a major way. And they are economic migrants. And I have to be honest with you, this represents a clear and present danger to our very way of life. You might say that's harsh, but everything is at stake. Our culture, our security, our prosperity. Now, I want to make it clear that we need a radical, significant amendment to the UN 51 Convention. It's been around for 70 years, for heaven's sake. It's not unreasonable to say that it might need the odd tweak, the odd amendment. Otherwise, it's starting to look a little bit out of date. But what I think we need, actually, is a shock and awe approach. We've got to wake up the metropolitan elite who are complacent and think everything is fine. It's not. It's far from fine. Here's my suggestion. Maybe we should actually show some real leadership. I think we should say, right, we've got 6 months, all of us, we've got to look at it, we've got to amend it, we've got to change it, or frankly, we're out. Because I hear from lots and lots of British people up and down the country, and people are fuming. People feel they've been completely and utterly let down by politicians year after year, election after election. No one voted for mass immigration, whether lawful or unlawful. In fact, in recent elections, people have voted for exactly the opposite. But this is where we're at now, mass immigration, and the Home Secretary recognises it. That's a significant moment. But what will others in her own party think of this? Let me tell you, if we fail to deal with this, if we fail to recognise that a 70-year-old convention is no longer suitable for the present day, for what's really going on, for the millions and millions of economic migrants who want to come to Europe, who want to come to the United Kingdom, then the impact will be profound. Frankly, it could be scary. Who knows what the consequences may be, where things may go. Now look, people will say, the critics, they'll say I'm being alarmist. No, I'm not. I'm just telling it as it is. I'm telling the truth. And I'm being a looking forward realist. What does this look like in 12, 24, 36 months' time if this continues as it is now? I think we should lead the way. I think we need to step up in a sort of Churchillian-style approach to leadership. And I remind everybody, Australia was right. They pushed back the boats, and we can pick up and take back the boat safely to France. And then EU leaders need to follow our strong leadership in the Mediterranean, pick up and take back. Then, and only then, when we've shown that leadership, we can work with the whole of the United Nations to do what's necessary to reduce the strife in the warring, struggling nations, which we know is so prevalent everywhere. But I'm telling you here and now, I'm not being alarmist, I'm being a realist. If this fails, everything's at risk. This is existential.